Summer camp is one of the defining experiences of scouting, but sometimes life doesn't line up neatly with the troop calendar. Family vacations get scheduled, sport seasons overlap, work commitments shift, or maybe a scout wants to attend STEM week, but their troop is going a different week. Or maybe, and this matters, 1 week just isn't enough. Camp shouldn't be limited by scheduling, and that's where provisional camping comes in. Welcome back to Meet Me at the Grizz, the podcast where we talk about camp, leadership, scouting, and the experiences that shape young people at Rotary Scout Reservation. I'm Ken Clough, scouter, camp volunteer, and storyteller. If you spent time at Rotary, then you know camp is more than a location. It's a community, a rhythm, a week that matters. And today, we're talking about provisional camping, what it is, why it exists, how it works at Rotary, and what it really requires from parents, leaders, and scouts. This isn't a policy episode. It's a leadership episode. It's a fellowship episode. Let's take a listen. Why provisional camping exists. Provisional camping exists for a simple reason. Life doesn't always align with troop calendars. Sometimes a troop scheduled week conflicts with a family vacation. Sometimes a scout wants to attend a specialized program, like STEM week, that doesn't line up with their troops week. Sometimes a scout wants to attend a second week of camp, and sometimes a scout simply wants more camp. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that might be one of the best reasons of all. Provisional camping is not a backup plan. It's an access point. It says camp belongs to the scout, not just to the troop schedule. From a parent's perspective, provisional camping can feel uncertain at first. Your scout is going to camp, but not necessarily with their home troop. That takes trust. And that's why communication matters early. If you're a parent considering provisional camping, reach out to camp administration. Talk with a camp director. Ask how placement works. Ask about supervision. Ask how integration is handled. At Rotary, provisional scouts are placed intentionally with quality troops. And during STEM week, they might be grouped together and supported by staff and adult volunteers. Provisional doesn't mean adrift. It means supported. And when parents understand the structure, comfort grows. The reality of arrival. Now let's talk about what usually happens when a provisional scout arrives. It doesn't typically begin with a long planning process weeks in advance. It usually begins right at the troop campsite. Gear is being unloaded, scouts are moving in, leaders are organizing, and in the middle of that activity there's a moment. The parent and scout leader step aside for a few minutes. Not formal, not heavy, just a conversation. And that conversation matters. It's where the week truly begins. The parent might share what they hope their scout gains. Maybe they're focused on certain program areas. Maybe this is their first time attending camp without their troop. Maybe it's their second week and they simply want more experience. It's also the time to talk about how the scout might best integrate into the troop. Is the scout independent? Do they take time to warm up? Are they used to a highly structured environment? Are they coming from a very small unit? Those details aren't labels, they're awareness, and awareness supports leadership. The parent may have questions too. How are patrols structured? How does the troop handle free time? What does evening routine look like? That campsite conversation builds comfort on both sides. It allows the leader to understand the scout, and it allows the parent to feel confident handing their scout over to the troop community for the week. That comfort doesn't happen accidentally. It requires a few intentional minutes, even when camp is busy, because once that conversation ends, camp moves pretty quickly. Integration starts immediately. There's no slow runway, and this is where leadership matters. Intentional check-ins, leading integration. Once the week begins, You cannot assume integration is happening. You have to check in, not dramatically, not constantly, but intentionally. Integration isn't accidental. It's led. Here are 3 simple ways I've done it at camp. First, create a conversation space. I've talked about what I call the camp office at our campsite. It's usually just a tarp, a few camp chairs, and a table. Nothing elaborate, but intentional. It's a space where conversations happen naturally. If you're hosting Provisional Scouts, create some version of that. It's a place where you can sit for a few minutes during the week and ask, "How's it going? Anything you need? How are merit badges shaping up?" You're not interrogating, you're observing, you're listening. Sometimes Provisional Scouts fit immediately, while other times it takes effort, and that's okay, but you don't know unless you make the space to find out. I've also used meals as integration moments. Meals are powerful at camp. They're not just about food, they're about fellowship. Sit next to the Provisional Scout once a day. Rotate naturally. Watch the tone. Are they engaged in conversation? Are they relaxed? Meals are often where belonging becomes visible. If a scout feels comfortable at the table, they're halfway integrated. Another thing I've done is ask your youth leaders. Talk to your senior patrol leader. Talk to the patrol leaders. They see things adults don't. Ask quietly, how are they doing? Anything we should adjust? This reinforces youth leadership and keeps integration shared. All 3 methods, conversation space, shared meals, and youth leadership insight, serve one purpose. They make belonging intentional, because provisional camping always works, but it doesn't always work automatically. Leadership makes the difference. Traditions, adjustment, and scout fellowship. Every troop has traditions. How flags are conducted, how campsites are organized, how patrols operate, and how campfires unfold. For a Provisional Scout, that can feel unfamiliar. Integration means learning what the host troop does, but it also means that recognizing that the Provisional Scout comes from a different troop culture. Those differences are normal, and they're healthy, because this is where scouting fellowship lives. Fellowship isn't just friendliness. It's not just sitting in the same campsite. Scout fellowship is the ability to enter a community that isn't your own and contribute to it with respect. It is belonging without demanding sameness. It is adapting without losing identity. That's a community skill. When a Provisional Scout joins a troop for a week, everyone practices that skill. The scout adjusts. The troop makes room. Leaders guide. And that doesn't stay at camp. Camp is a community of many troops. Scouting is a community of many councils. The larger world is a community of many perspectives. If a scout can enter a new troop and thrive, if a troop can welcome someone new and integrate them fully, that's not just good camp management. That's citizenship training. That's community development. The Scout Oath and Scout Law provide that shared foundation, not as a checklist, but as a shared agreement about how we live together. Provisional camping makes that agreement visible. Different traditions, different units, but the same foundation. One camp, one community. Provisional scouting exists because life doesn't always align with troop calendars. But camp shouldn't be limited by scheduling, and belonging shouldn't be limited by familiarity. When parents communicate, when leaders create space for conversation, when youth leaders pay attention, when troops open their traditions without losing their identity, provisional camping becomes more than a logistical solution. It becomes one of the clearest expressions of scout fellowship. A scout who arrives unsure leaves confident. A troop that makes room leaves stronger. And camp itself becomes what it was always meant to be, a community larger than one unit. One camp, one oath, one shared commitment to live well together, and 1 week to practice that skill. Thanks for spending some time with me here today. If this episode helped you think differently about provisional camping, whether you're a parent, a scout, or a leader, I hope you'll share it with someone who might benefit from it. Provisional camping works best when we understand it and when we lead it well. I'm Ken Clough, and this has been Meet Me at the Grizz. I'll see you at camp.